Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for your continued support, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. To all my subscribers, old and new, if you're checking this video out for the first time, you can tell I have a passion for Seikos. I have a passion for my collection of Seikos, old or new. I truly believe I enjoy them as much as I possibly can from the watch hobbyist perspective, and I truly believe they will do really well in my collection in the long term. I don't attempt to flip or sell any of those watches. Some of the watches that I bought in a terrific price just before they discontinued 3 years ago. Some of the watches that has the price has gone up significantly, and I think this today's topic of watch is not your investment. This topic has been sitting on my mind for a while now. Today is the first day that we coming back to work, so we just finished the Easter holiday, 4 days of long weekends here in Australia. But before I started my day, I just like to spend a bit of time talk about this hobby and this watch topic, because we know because I really think this topic on its own has helped me in my journey over the last couple of years, especially in the last 6 months when I start buying more watches, and of course building our community in this channel. But more importantly, the more time that I sort of chat among my subscribers, my local subscribers overseas. Of course, we talk about things we love. I tend to believe if we can all address this topic, especially in the affordable segment, well, and if it's being well articulated, well thoughtful, then I think it will be benefits. It will be beneficial for your collection in the mid to long term. Now, let's start a topic. Watch is not your investment. Now, the reason why I think this topic is important is because myself, I'm very humble to the first chapter, where I am in my collection journey. I'm only collecting Seikos now. If each one of the Seikos that I collect, I believe are being selected well. I love every bit of it, and but at the same time, there's a trend in the watch collection among the hobbyists and enthusiasts that people tend to believe that we only buy watches for investment purposes, or they tend to think about how much money they're going to make out of it. And I think part of that is always being embedded with us as human being, right? That's why a Rolex is, from a supply and demand perspective, people tend to go to the brand that will appreciate its value, and there's nothing wrong about it, especially when we have legends such as Kevin O'Leary. That of course he's in a very different ball game. He loves watches just like us, but of course each piece that he has, they appreciate, right? Of course, we talk about brand in the horology perspective that represent the absolute top in its manufacturing, in its heritage, in its demand, that can dominate in the appreciation of each pieces here. So I think for us in the affordable segment, we need to get this right, because if we don't, we tend to get stuck in the money topic, in the investment topic too much. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. You certainly don't want to buy a watch and lose hold the value of it. But if you tend to think too much about it, I really think it can be a disadvantage, and it can ruin your hobby to a very much degree. Okay, so when it comes to investments, again, I'm very humble to where I am right now. I'm not expertise in this, but I do want to share with what I love, and the process of sharing what I love includes the experiences and I guess just my 2 cents, right? So when it comes to investment, we have appreciation. That means, for example, you bought a watch for $200, and one day you can choose to sell the watch if you like for 500. Then you 100% or more on your investment. Of course, the price applies to any segments. If you're buying a $5,000 watch, that goes up to 10 grand. Technically, you have equity of $5,000, of course, minus any costs, and service costs are within that of that piece. Depreciation, that means the value is dropping down as you're buying a watch for $1,000. A couple years later on, you're selling for 500. Then you will lose $500 in return. Of course, considering the lifespan of 2 years. Value retention. I don't really think this is being really well articulated and addressed. Especially important in our segment is appreciation and depreciation, we tends to bring those two topics to its extreme, where we tend to associate with brands such as Rolex, Patek, or AP brands such as that, because we tend to believe only they can fit into that model. You're buying, for example, you bought a Submariner for $9,000 back in the days, and now you can sell them for 16, 18 grand. So you double, you make sort of $10,000 out of it, which would be a great thing. And if you're selling your sub, so only brands such as Rolex can really push that trend to the extreme. And the same page, we think about depreciation to the extreme as well. That we don't want to fall for the watches we're buying for a couple grand, and in the end, selling for half of what we bought. So compared to those two extremes, I really believe the idea of value retention should be brought up to our discussion, because I think it's important, because in the end of the day, we spend money with our hard-earned money on the watches that we buy and choose to stay in our collection. And our collection will grow, not just in the quantity or quality of it, but when I say our collection will grow, it's about a journey of ourselves. We will have different desires towards different designs, perhaps different shapes of it, different aspects of the movements, of the heritage, of the stories. And that is okay. It's like everything else in life. You tend to have a different taste, what you've been collecting over the last 10 years to what you're doing now, and you will continue to change in the next 10 years. So naturally, selling a buying watch is part of the collection. So when you sell a watch, you really don't want to lose too much money on it. But in saying that, you shouldn't focus all your attention on the appreciation, because there are only so few of watches in comparison of how many watches out there that can truly appreciate its value. And there's nothing wrong about buying them. You can certainly chase them if that's on your heart. But Seiko's, when we bring it to my collection journey so far, I really try to achieve a value retention well. I don't think about appreciation at all. If that happens, that's a good job, because think about it. The only Seiko that I remember that produced in the last couple of years, 3-4 years, that has done well in appreciation is, I forgot the model number, but it's the SPB Alpinist Ginza, the special limited edition. I think goes up to 1,500 units. That one was available at retail for about $550 US, and now, of course, was sold out very quickly, if not within a couple months. And now they trading up to $1,000 or thereabouts as brand new. Very hard to come by, but they certainly double their value. But in saying that, if you're considering how many different models that Seiko has produced in the last couple of years, it will be almost impossible to predict which one will replicate what that Ginza Alpinist has done in terms of value. So that's why I don't really think about appreciation at all, if I can be honest. And we're moving on to depreciation. And the thing I want to say about depreciation is, unless you're buying a brand new Seiko, as in today's lineup, from Seiko boutiques or other ADs that selling Seikos, they have a very strict policy of not discounting off the retail price at all. Then I think you'll be bothered with depreciation, because actually none of them is still on the retail no more. But I'm just using the watches that have my wrist on my wrist. SPB 147, absolutely loving this. I think it's a huge success when it comes to 62 mass reinterpretation. So this watch, of course, originally came without the bracelet. I added the bracelet on as additional cost. But this watch was selling about 1,400 Aussie, so about $950 each, I think, at a retail. And I had successfully acquired this on a mint condition from, of course, from the original owner, for about 600, I think between 550 to 600. So from that perspective, I would only lose money on this watch if I've bought it off the retail price of 1,000, because if I choose to sell these very comfortably, I can still achieve between the 500 to 550 marks. Or they just call it, if I put this watch out there for 500 US, it will be sold within a couple hours in the watch community, Watch You Seek, and the local Facebook watch forums. In saying that, it has achieved the value retention perspective, because I bought it I bought it as a reasonable price. Again, I didn't buy any other 62 mask. I chose the SPB 147 without the 3 o'clock lume, because I really believe that is the version that will do really well from a demand perspective. People will actually love it, love this earlier version of it. So I didn't buy this at retail. So I don't worry about depreciation because I've got a good price from a mint condition. So this watch, in a way, has achieved value retention. I don't tend to lose a lot of money on it, and it will do really well in my collection because I'm just love wearing it. And of course, in the long term, next 2 to 3 years, without a shadow of a doubt, Seiko will make more 62 mask reinterpretation. But again, in my belief, with the trend where Seiko's going, with very fancy texturized dial, or very fancy bezel, I truly believe one of those early generation, as if we call it, the 62 mask interpretation, will do really well because people really love that vintage vibe, and that is just my humble opinion. Okay, so value retention is achieved, and I don't think about depreciation. And I just on that topic of depreciation a bit more. Look, guys, I applaud. I encourage anyone who's passionate about having a great experience at Seiko Boutique, buying retail price of your Seikos, of your current lineups. Of course, they're only selling the one that's still in the production. There is nothing wrong with it. You get a maximum warranty. You have a great experience, hopefully, when you shop the watch, and you get to keep the watch for in your rotation for very long term. But I don't really buy. None of my watches have ever been bought from Seiko Boutique, just because I tend to love finding a piece on a secondary market, because I really believe that's where the value is, in my humble opinion. Of course, my work has allowed me a bit of flexibility to look into the forums, look into the eBays, random places of watch collectors and people flippers, that I can spend a bit of time on hunting down the watches that I like, and I sort of stay away from buying brand new watches from AD. So that's my strategy of how to get away from depreciation. Now the third thing is the value retention, where I think we should really be truly by focusing on is because all those watches that we have in front of us, they has be discontinued. Just very quickly go through them. We have a SARB. So we're just going from the left to the right. We have a SARB. This is SARB 035. Actually, we have the classic 3 SARBs here. We have the SARB 033 black dial, that is the cream dial, and of course you can't complete your Seiko collection without the I'll call this the OG, the original Alpinist, the best of his best, the SARB 017, absolutely fantastic daily wearer. And of course they're just too recognizable. We have a couple of SKXs here, the black and the Pepsi, and we have the recently I believe it's the truth. Again, I could be wrong, but we have the Flighty, the Flymaster, which has been discontinued. I think the price has pretty much 50% increased since I looked at it 6 months ago. So I was very fortunate to get one about 220, 250 US, mint condition without a scratch on the case or on the hardlex. It's just absolutely beautiful to look at, and I truly believe from a design, function, manufacturing perspective, it is a great Seiko in its history. So those watches, again, if you shop in the boutique, if you're buying brand new, none of them can be bought at a retail price. It's all gone. So really, if you can't buy from the retail, if you have your heart set on those watches, what you can start looking out for is buying them on the used market. And I understand that we talk about this, right? Today is not the best time to sell a watch. I mean, with how the economic situation is, there's a lot of people out there that are selling watches that really believe at a reasonable price. So they're selling, make sure you get all box and papers with each one of them. But I think some Alpinists going between 700 to 800, and I just have to say, I understand this already gone up because originally they were selling Amazon for about 450. Even though it's gone up by 300, but I truly think this watch is worth it. For 2 reasons. Number one, they will never make the Alpinist again. And knowing how Seiko understand its importance in its sports watches history of the brand, they are continuing developing it, revolutionize it with the new design cues and higher movements. So we definitely can see the long-term longevity in the Alpinist line. But they will never make the Seiko Alpinist again. The Zarb 017, and it is the last Alpinist before the Alpinist line gets incorporated to the Prospect line. So at a $700, I think it's absolutely fantastic to buy. Even though it's more than $400 where you originally could have acquired, it's not a big of a deal, guys. If you say it's really not a big of a deal, I'm gonna talk about those price increases just in relation to your sort of daily lifestyle and your overall budget just in a minute. And of course, we'll move on to those couple beautiful Zarbs. They are just fantastic, guys. Male or female, whether it's yourself, or for your missus, for your girlfriend, for your wife, have one of each, so you can wear the both at the same time, or just for you to enjoy at that size, at that beautiful indices and handset. The overall finishing is absolutely impeccable. Again, we talk about prices here. We're very familiar with what they're doing on the used market. Brand new, they used to be selling between $350 to $400 again, but now I've seen some really good condition ones that hardly been weighed. They've been selling between that $5 to $550, which means you can get both of them under $1,000. Just about that. Of course, you want to make sure. Again, I said the watches come with the box and papers, but $1,000 for both of two watches with the full set, I don't think you're gonna lose money. Again, because Seiko believes in its quality and the future manufacturing of its precise of that handset, and where the Grand Seiko is taking place really well in the premium market. Those Zarbs 33 and 35 will do extremely well because people will miss the size of it, they will miss the simplicity of it, and I think they will do really well. If you just spend your time and be patient with the way that you search them up, make sure you get the whole set. Make sure you ask the seller to send you the full close-up photo and in high resolution of the front, lugs, and the back and sides, just to make sure you know what you're buying. If you can do a meetup in your local city, that would be even terrific. Okay, so again, we'll talk about originally they were selling between $300 to $450. Now you can get them at $550 to $600. Just put in $600, so a couple $100 more for each of those pieces. Not a bad deal, guys. Seriously, not a bad deal. They've been discontinued for the last 3 or 4 years, and if you can get both of them in your collection, I really believe you can get to enjoy them. If you like the design of course, the wear's a bit smaller than the rest of the sports pieces, but they will do really well. Okay, guys. Of course, naturally, we just moved to a couple of SKXs. We're talking about everything's being talked to depths, and everything about those SKXs. From a design perspective, look at them is they are truly the people's Submariner. The people's Submariner. If we talk about the most iconic watches that sort of increase the popularity of the divers in the affordable segment, SKXs are pretty much unarguably the champ of that category. Again, we talk about originally they can be had between 200, 250 to 300. Of course, we talk about a long time ago, but now, of course, you can't get them brand new. If you're willing to buy them brand new, you will probably spend $700, $800, $900 per piece. Should you spend that money? I'll just tell you how I feel. If you cared about watch collecting to a degree, and you like it so much, you want to make some money out of it, I'm feeling pretty confident if you can get a brand new old stock with the stickers on, without a hairline scratches, everything original, come with the tag, come with the boxes, come with the paper warranty card in the old days, if you will, and just put them in the locker, put in the safety, and I can guarantee that by year 2050, make sure you don't lose your house, make sure you don't lose your safe. There will be a couple grand at least. Depends on, of course, how the economy and the expansion of the monetary, the whole thing is, but I can see them worth 2-3 grand in 20-30 years. They will be, guys. Here's the thing, right? The expansion of the prices on all assets is not truly because the asset itself. It's because how much money is being printed in our society, how affordable to a point that people can access to the capital, and hence people have the willingness and desire to purchase the goods they want, right? Again, based on how it goes, as I see it, if you keep them new 20, of course, in 20 years later on, it don't really matter what it is, right? This channel probably wouldn't be exist by then, but they will worth a lot more than what they're asking for. Naturally, of course, just finishing up, talk about the Flighty. I seen these between 250 to 300 as a brand new. Of course, this watch has been manufactured for quite a long time as well, and now the company had for 480 to 500, so they doubled in its price considering the old days. Again, should you collect it? If you spend, if you find a good mint condition between 350 to 400, I think you should go for it. For the functionality of it, for the 200 meter water resistance of it, considering how Seiko truly believe in affordable segment where the chronograph is going, knowing their Speedmaster is doing really well, the Flighty will always have its position in the collector's mindset. And that, as far as I know, is the truth. So guys, as we know, those watches are out there. Don't feel discouraged that you can't access them no more because you missed the boat. I used to think like that, and I think it's perfectly fine, but don't get stuck in that mindset. Spend a couple $100 more than what it's originally asked for. I'm just gonna put a price up there, under 700 for the Alpinist, under 550 to 600 on the Mint Sarb 3335, under 300 for the SKX. Of course, you have the orange there, orange, black, or Pepsi, and under 350 for the Flighty. And just get them all, guys. I just get them all. You don't want to associate that term investment towards what you love, because then you tend to stuck with the money problem, and you think about monies all the time. Then you tend to forget what you even wear on your wrist. We love those pieces not because how much money the cost will buy us back, but really because the design, the history, just the beautiful manufacturing and the process of actually bringing them, to life. They are truly beautiful watches, guys. I'm just putting them together. Don't think about money too much. I mean, I'm just putting it out there, right? A tank of you guys call gas in US, so we call them petrol still here, right? I mean, what's the gas prices nowadays? You guys call gallons there, right? I'm just guessing $5. A car will, to fill up your tank, you need about 15 gallons, right? I don't know, 14, 50 pence. What kind of car you drive? I mean, against a tank of gas is gonna cost you $60, $70 to fill, and you have no problem driving your car around for a week or more, just to, of course, to meet your daily requirements, but just to burn off that gas in the exhaust, and that will cost you $80. Take a family, couple kids and wife to a takeaway, to a restaurant, cost you, almost 3 digits, $100. And again, you don't think twice when your family desires for it. So when it comes to your hobby and you're loving it, guys, I'm telling you this: spending a couple $100 more on a watch that you're willing to buy, and of course you've done your research, from a supply and demand perspective, you believe what that watch representing in the future collector's mindset. Buy it. A couple $100 is nothing, guys. I mean, I'm not trying to be anything disrespectful, but I love the new Tudor 54. I love the Seamasters. I love the Speedmasters. But I've seen genuine buyers that bought that watch in the last 6 months, and then of course maybe their goals change. Maybe they need their money back, or maybe they're buying something else that needs for them to sell those watches. But I've seen those Blackbeard 58s. I've seen Speedmasters, Seamasters. And again, just for example, they're selling like 20% less than what the retail is, and I doubt that they've got any discounts from the retail at all. So you're talking about $1,000, north of $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 losses on their Seamasters, on their Speedmaster. Again, they are great watches with great heritage. So don't, in our game, in affordable games, in iconic Seikos, don't think about too much in terms of investment. Think about what you love. Think about what you get to enjoy when you put on your wrist for the days to come. Because then you can truly enjoy and love your watches rather than stuck your mindset on the topic of investment. Alright, guys? Now, thank you so much for being with me, and I appreciate you again all from the bottom of my heart. I have no doubt I'll get to see you guys in the next video again. Stay safe, guys. Bye-bye for now.